welcome to the Crypto Gaming Institute podcast. Today, we have a fascinating guest, Mr. Alan Su, the founding partner of ArkStream Capital and BlockArk. How you doing today, man?
Yeah, thank you, Ben, for having me today. Yeah, I'm doing very good today.
Awesome. Well, hey, I'm super excited for you to be on the show. Would love to kick it off and learn a little bit more about your story and your history of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, actually, I think everyone has a very differentiated story about how you get into Web3. So actually, my story started from kind of like starting from my university because I went to the first education revolution university in China. It's called SUSTEC. And it actually is a very new school. It's founded in 2011. And the very special thing about this university is that actually in a lot of the university in my country, actually the policy, like should we do this or should we do that, is actually designed by the officers. But in my university, it's very much like many universities in US and Hong Kong. So the policy is designed by the professors and the students. So we have a student community and the professor community. Like we started the computer department, but it's not by the officers, but it's by the students and the professors. So that's actually I think it's very similar to what we today call it DAO. So like people vote for something, but there's no a centralized department say today we're gonna do this policy. So that's the very first time I get into kind of this decentralized ideology, and then I went to University of Oxford in my fourth year as an exchange student, and then I went to the PwC Center to start my career. I think many people started career first from big enterprises, and then um, after 1 2 years in those big enterprises, and then coming to the 2017, that was the last cycle bull market. I believe everyone, many of our crypto friends, they are also coming in 2017, and I'm in Shenzhen. So Shenzhen is the Silicon Valley in China. So a lot of the big tech companies like Tencent, Huawei, they're all founded in Shenzhen. And so a lot of the blockchain startups, they chose Shenzhen as their first steps in China. So I met one of my co-founders in one of the roadshows, and co-founder, he's my college fellow students, and then we started the mother company of BlockArk. At that time, because there's a huge gap between the China and the West, and we find there's a huge opportunity, and we started by doing the integrated marketing for a lot of the startups internationally. And some of the names you might be familiar are like Anchor Network, BlueZeo, like Ocean Protocol, Band Protocol. So we generally help them to from 0 to 1 to help them with their initial growth, especially in Asian market. And then in 2020, in the first 3 years, I would say the market is still in chaos, although it is developing very fast. But in 2020, we see a huge paradigm shift in this market that you can see from the rise of the DeFi and not of the NFT. We see that this market is kind of like coming into where the equity market was at in 2002, and then we think it's the right timing. Then we started ArkStream Capital and started to invest like an investment institution, and so we are here.
That's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about this idea of investing, just at a higher level.
Mhm.
There's so many ways to go about it, right? I mean, you could be trading with with algorithms and bots. You could be manually trading. You could be providing liquidity. You could be yield farming. You could be buying and holding and staking. You could be market making. So many different things. How did you develop your own thesis, and what sort of vehicle, like how did you evaluate through all the different vehicles of investment what your thesis would be, and how did you actually arrive at that thesis?
Yeah, that's actually very interesting. When I'm talking about the crypto industry with a lot of my games, a lot of my friends, we always say that there are 100 ways for you to be successful in this industry. So how we reached today, so it's actually, I think everyone has unique gene in their I mean fundamentally, as we were the top three integrated marketing firms in Asia in the first 3 years. So I think the thing that we know the most is about like how to help projects to grow, especially at a very early stage. Like for example, today, if like Ben, you started a DeFi, although you already have a lot of fans, let's say like nobody starts a DeFi project. Actually, maybe he's from Web 2 and he know very little about Web 3, especially maybe he knows how to develop. Maybe he's a scientist, but he doesn't know where could he acquire users, where could he gain TVL from the public. So that's where we are concentrating doing for the first 3 years, and then especially coming to 2020, actually you see a lot of capitals rising in the market, and everyone says that they have a different approach to help the projects, but we see there's a huge change um, in these 4 years because you see a lot of the very big names in 2017. They actually don't exist now. But like you see now, all the large VCs on the market, all the leading VCs, they actually bring very differentiated value to the project. So I think the value we bring. If you check on our website, the first sentence is ArkStream accelerate growth. So we fundamentally help the projects to acquire the growth from the market, whether from the branding part, from the PR part, or from like our connections, our portfolio network, and from everything. So, and I'm personally a very bad trader. So I used to do a lot of trading, but like I never made it. I lose a lot of money. So I know what I'm bad at. Yeah.
Right. Right. So it seems like you guys more are partnering with brands and projects early on. And then it seems like you would be probably investing in them and then helping them grow. So it seems like you're more kind of like a buyer, and then at some point you'd probably, as you help them grow, eventually you need to take some profits later on down the road. Is that kind of the philosophy of like get in super early, get some buy in super early and then help them grow? That's kind of the thesis there.
Well, I think that really depends but we generally our thesis is, I would say the fundamental thesis is also why we chose to start ArkStream Capital at 2020, because like I said, I think like for the first 10 years of cryptocurrency from 2009 on to 2019, we're seeing that this market is kind of like still very early stage. It's more the infrastructure driven. Like we see the Ethereum developing, the Polkadot developing, Filecoin not online, and and when you are saying like maybe in 2019, when if someone asks you like Ben, how do you evaluate EOS, and you cannot actually give him a like valuation model how to evaluate EOS. But someone says, hey, EOS is good. I would say EOS is good. So EOS then grow and skyrocket. But after 2020, I think the largest thing, why I'm saying is very similar to the equity market, because we actually have a kind of valuation model to evaluate the projects we're putting the money in. Like for example, for the DeFi projects, sometimes we use the TVL divided by their market cap, and or the market cap divided by the TVL to use it as kind of like the PE. And I'm also reading an article about Decentraland today, and it give a comparison between Decentraland and Roblox, between their fully diluted market cap and divided by their revenue model. So actually, you can see the largest difference, I think, after 2020 is that we see a lot of protocols, especially DApps, they actually generate revenues. So we can actually use the like the cash the future cash models to, like we do in the equity market, to evaluate the projects. So answering your question, so what is our investment thesis? So we invest in two kinds of projects, I would say. The first is that we find for example, metaverse is super hot today, and then we chase after I would say the most potential metaverse projects on the market, and so we might not come in at a super low valuation, but this is a trend. And the second kind of projects that we see there's a huge demand in the industry but haven't been digged out. It's like privacy, like we joined the Secret Foundation ecosystem network, like the social fi, I think is a very important component in Web3. So we're in talk with like CyberConnect, then Cat Galaxy, like Capsule Finance. So those are very new social fi, but they haven't caught enough attention from market. And in terms of how when we cash out or when we take the profit from market, actually that really depends. Like for example, like Sandbox, like the early investor they gain like 1,000x on Sandbox. So if they see the Sandbox still growing at a very fast pace, will they cash out? I think they won't. So we're very similar. If the after our tokens have been has been unlocked, if the project is still running on the right track, then we'll hold it until we think the market gives a good valuation on them. Then we might think of cashing out. So
That makes a lot of sense. So, I think like there are so many ways to do it too. It's interesting that that's kind of the model that you guys take. Are you doing any sort of yield farming? Like, are you providing liquidity? Are you using any sort of like trading bots or anything like that, or is it mostly just evaluating projects based on where they are in their life cycle? Are they undervalued? Buying and then allowing those projects to get to the point where they are valued properly and then taking profits. Like, do you do any of the other things as well?
yeah, so I think like when we talk about DeFi, actually, if we define the DeFi wave coming from the May 2020. And actually, I think everyone here is a yield farmer. So the we started on May 2020. So at that time, actually, the Uniswap, I still remember Uniswap only had a daily transaction volume of only like 2 million US dollars. So at that time, only like 10 projects they added liquidity on Uniswap. At that time, we started the Uniswap DAO community in China. And so we started by doing yield farming. And like SushiSwap, like YFI, were they're one of their first yield farmers in the Asian market. And then like I think from September on, September 2020 on, there are a lot of, I would say, more legit or more private sales where the formal the, the structured projects coming into market, and we started more on investing like a pure primary market VC fund. And in terms of like how do we evaluate that it's a good time for actually cash out, I think that's actually to use a very good interesting saying in crypto that I don't know if you have seen a picture like two astronauts walking on Mars, and one said like, "Hey, like 1 month in DeFi is like 10 years on Earth." So I think that's what we're facing today. So I think the paradigm shift in this market is changing tremendously and very rapidly. So like for example, when we're looking at many DeFi projects today, we don't think it is the greatest point to invest in DeFi because many innovations are focused on more on DeFi 2.0 and DeFi 3.0. But if you're doing like a copy or just regular fork of the AMM DEX, it actually the market won't give you a good valuation today. But when you're talking about Web3 or Metaverse, so still coming to the back to the article I read today, the market value divided by the revenue of Decentraland is 1,400, and that of Roblox is only 20. So we see there's a huge, I would say, expectation on the metaverse and Web3 still in this market. So we generally will hold most of the, we invest in a lot of the Web3 and metaverse projects now, and we hold a lot of them in for a very long period of time.
That makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense. So let's talk a little bit about the research process, because I feel like for an investor, doing your own research, like DYOR, is probably one of the most important things. I'm curious how you actually go about performing your research and really just gather the information that you need to make a good decision. Like, what does that process look like for you?
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting story because, well, the in 2017 when we founded BlockArk, we actually we we were not starting from the first day in integrated marketing firms. We actually from the first day, we and my other two co-founders, we are all researchers. So what we do is that we read. I think that in 2017, I read about like 500 white papers. And so what we did is that we write the reports about, so reviews about those ICOs, about those projects. And the first project that we gave the AA rating is actually the RF, so AAV. And at that time, it called the, it's called the ETH land. And we invested IF, I think I think it's in October 2017. And so how do we do the research? I think the first thing I want to say is that we don't think, I think especially in this market, I think the team is the most important thing because you see a lot of projects like Secret Network, they used to do another project doing AI, but they changed their whole project to a secret foundation after 2 years, and it's still surviving on the market. And you see Anchor Network, we're very familiar with them. They started by doing the distributed cloud computing, but now they're doing a lot for ETH 2.0. So the product can change with the market if you keep pace with the market. But the founders are the most important. So to giving a like high level overview of how we evaluating the projects, we have a very structured model. Like for every of my colleagues who had a call with the projects, we will do actually a scoring on those projects based on the conversation, and that involves like is the technology, I would say, inventory enough? I mean, is it inventing something that haven't been seen before in this industry? And that is the first part about the technology. And we have two tech consultants externally and from big tech companies. And the second part is about the team that I mentioned. Does the team have successful careers in the past, whether in blockchain or in big enterprises? And the third part is about like who are helping those projects to grow. So backers are they backed by the real legit investors? So they're actually very different kinds of investor on the market. Some they are good at marketing, some they're good at research, and some they're good at maybe adding some other values. So we're checking who are the backers of this project. And the fourth part, have they already gained some initial awareness on the market? So we check their social media on Twitter, we check their Discord, like for Metaverse, especially like the online people. And the fifth part is about, I would say, we use this six things. Like when you're talking to someone and you got something directly hitting your brain, and I think that's something that very few projects hit in my mind. But the projects that really did, they all came out to be very strong project on the market. So that's generally the five categories that we use on research, and we give a score. But ultimately, we will have a research committee, and for every 2 weeks, we will have a like conference uh, on like all the deals that we had in the past 2 weeks, and then all the general partners and investment directors we discuss from different angles, then we make a final decision. And especially in this market, I think there's a lot of projects, so we only put our seat in, I would say, most convincing ones that really convince everyone.
So I love that. So it's like technology, team, backing, community, and then it seems like, does it just make sense? Like simplicity. Like
Exactly.
does it hit you as like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And
And
then
yeah, and valuation is definitely also important. Yeah, I forgot to say.
mm-hmm. So then so it seems like you're scoring these different things. It seems like you're scraping as much data that's publicly available as possible. And then as you know, as like somebody who's a capital allocator, you've been around for a while. I'm sure you have a pretty deep network. So like, are you also like asking different people and getting other pieces of information that the general public may not be able to? Like, are you able to kind of go in and just learn more based on the network you've built over time as well?
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting story because like um, I think that's also something very unique between the Web 2 VCs and the Web 3 VCs because we, like 3 months before, one of our general partners, she just joined us 3 months before, and she just graduated from Stanford MBA, and she was doing the equity markets for 8 years in Web 2, like for some like the Yao Capital, like for Yao Ming, and the actually the first month she was in our team, she felt something like very new because I think like for many of the VCs in crypto, we're actually friends, so we're not actually competitors. Like for like many Web2 VCs, they do not have so much regular conversations. Like people talk about more like friend circle. Like if I maybe like Ben, if you code reach if I code reach out to you, and maybe you don't give me a shit if you don't know me. And but in crypto VCs, we're having a lot of the calls with uh, other VCs. Like I'm having tomorrow another call with two VCs in China, and I actually 1 hour before I just had a 20 minutes call with another VC that's doing very good on the NFT. So we cannot make sure that we are professional in every aspects. Say, I think we're kind of very professional in DeFi because we're jumping very early. But in terms of the NFT, the social fi, and especially about Web3, they're not of the new things. So like when we are looking at the maybe like for example like AR ecosystem, and two of the ventures like D1 Ventures and 7X, they are both in China. Then they jumped very deep in the AR ecosystem. So we will maybe like have a professional call with them and say, hey, like how do you think about this project technology? And maybe if we're jumping into the Web3, then we might have a conversation with Massbook. We're also one of their investors. And if we're jumping more into the metaverse, we might have calls with like conversation with Animoca or like many others. So I think to convey information between the VCs really helped us to grow the networks and also uh, to accumulate knowledge from externally.
I love that. I love that. So for somebody who, let's say, they want to be a VC, but they may not really know how to get started or what to do, what are your, I guess, your I don't know if guidelines, but like, what's the process of becoming a VC? Like, do you have to have just this huge bundle of money to start off with, or like, can you work your way into the VC world?
Yeah, I think yeah that's also a very interesting story. I think we see a lot of the new VCs coming into this market, and I think money will be the least thing that is important because like if you just walk around and you see like all the people that has been on the market for 3 or 4 years, they are already very super rich. But I think to jumping out of this question, to be a VC, you need to think more about like if you are a project and today like 100 VCs came to your door and knock at you, say, Ben, can you give me allocation? Can I invest in your project? I think your question is like, who will you choose? So I think that's how you survive on the market. So they actually, I think there are different categories of VCs, but generally, to start with, I think the easiest value add that you can provide to the projects maybe to help the projects to build their awareness on the market. Maybe you can act as maybe like a channel on your own, and you can help the projects to convey their voice to the general public, and you can help them to acquire the users, and that might be one part. Or maybe you're connected with a lot of the Web2 audiences. You already have a like like for example, if Tencent come into investing, they already got a lot of the audiences in Web2, so you can directly help them authentically on the user growth. I think that's one of the maybe the start point that you can start with. And some other things, like we see some other VCs like CMS, like GSR, like Blackwater or like Jump Trading. So we're also friends with them. So they were trading firms before, but they came in to do the primary marketing, and they help those projects to do maybe they provide the value of OTC. They may provide the value about market making, so you can provide from the trading part. And some others, like for instance, I think Animoca, they started by having huge experience in gaming, so they become the I think the top pop star at now. So I think just the first question maybe new people you should ask is that what I am good at, and the second question is that what they need from me, and you can start your journey. But I think everyone is unique, so everyone can actually bring unique value to this new world.
So then just practically, like from a, let's pretend we're starting, we're starting a new VC firm, right? And there's a so we want to understand, like, okay, what value can we provide to projects early on, or at any point, really? So maybe we're good at networking, so we can help connect them with other VCs to help raise money from the best people, and we can help them put together a really good cap table or something like that. Or maybe we really deeply understand economics, and we can help them put together a really strong model for their in-game economies, let's say for games, for example. Or maybe we're really good at marketing, so we have this skill set that we want to help other projects with. um, at that point, do you then go and you go to a different VC and you raise money, and you're like, this is the value we provide, we also want to invest, so put money into us, and then we'll do our job and go put money into other groups? Like, how does the flow of capital work from that perspective?
Hmm. So you mean the flow of capital? So do you mean do so where the money flows from the VC to the project site, or where so or
Where the
let's say
VCs originally get the capital to invest in the
uh
projects.
yeah, that's actually, so starting from our story, actually, we accumulated some capital in the first 3 years. So we didn't, we only have a very small percentage of capital externally, but we're planning to raise our first external fund this year, maybe mid this year. We're generating structure, but for most of them, they can get the capital from, I think their original capital is from their friends. Like for example, you have you have friends in Web2, and he wants to get into Web3, and you've been in this space for 2 years, and you connected with some people, and he might would like to give some money to you, and some, for example, and for many other funds, they have kind of like FOF, so they invest in many other capital. Like for example, and maybe you're coming up like an influencer. Like I think if you have followed Maple and he just started Folius Ventures, so he was a huge influencer on Twitter. He wrote a lot of reports, and then one day he said, "Why not I start as an institutional fund?" And all the followers of his Twitter, some of them are institutions and some of them are his friends, and they put the money in his funds, and then he has his first batch of money. So I think because the money comes from the trust, so the easiest money you can get originally on the first day, maybe from your friends or the people that know you the best. And in order to reach that, I think the best way is to get your self-influence on the market from the first day.
That makes a lot of sense. So it seems like it's just kind of about getting creative with like, okay, well, are you doing something new and different? And do you deserve to have the capital in the first place? Like, if you can't make more money with the money that you start off with, like, you probably shouldn't be doing this in the first place. So, as far as like making your money work for you and really putting it to work, and building that, like, how did you come to the decision that you personally wanted to start your own VC and your own investment project? Like, how did you decide that's the route that you personally wanted to go?
Yeah, so that's actually that. I think everyone that joined the Web3, actually, I would say there's a seed that is planted from the first day you joined um, this industry. And so for me, the first day when I was very young, like I think many people when they're very young, they dreamed about becoming like scientist, a inventor, like they can build something that can be used for the whole human beings. And like inventor, we can be a scientist. You can discover some new materials like many other scientists. And when you're coming to Web3, and those scientists are actually those developers in Web3. So you see, like in 2017, um, if we compare the whole cryptocurrency as a new land in a new planet, then they're barely they're barely nothing. So in 2017, we're still building bridges, and then in 2018, 19, and we come to 2020, and we see a lot of the hospitals, a lot of schools, a lot of the large buildings building up. And so from the very first day I joined this industry, the thing I want is that I am not only kind of like um, I would say the service providers that can only accompany the projects from external, like when we're doing target marketing. So the things that we are getting involved is, so we are only getting involved in how to help the growth about the project. But actually to be a successful project, you need a lot of things. So then I decided in my mind that either I will start a project on my own, or we could be a venture capital and help a lot of the Web3 founders um, to start their project and to accompany them throughout the long way in Web3. Then we found it that actually there are so many genius in crypto, and we see a lot of the great protocols, like you see the like IVE, they cross the bear and bull cycles for 4 years, and for Uniswap they invented the AMM, and for like algorithm stable coins they they actually build a stable coins just on top of the math, but not any centralized thing. So I think there are a lot of the founders that have much better ideas, maybe over my head. So then I think maybe the best role for me is to become a venture capital partner. And the good thing is that the bad thing is that I may not um, like do all the things from 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 the most from everything from scratch, but I can get involved in different projects and help them to build all the things um, in a more longer journey. And I think that's something make me really really excited, and I think that's also some of the dreams for many people um, in this industry.
Yeah, I love that. I love that analysis too of like, okay, you know you have a certain skill set, but you love what a bunch of other people are doing, so help them instead of trying to force doing your own project. And in a way, you're kind of able to come back and you are doing your own project just in a way of helping the other projects also grow. So that's really interesting, interesting um, decision tree, if you will. So long term, what do you really see as the future of your career, the future of ArkStream, BlockArk, so on and so forth? Like, where do you want to take everything that you're doing? What's the vision, the goal?
Yeah. So um, we actually had a meeting about this because we're coming to the end of the year. Actually, in China, we have a Lunar Festival, so it's February the 1st, and so we're having the annual meeting, and then we actually planned so uh, where we will be at maybe this time next year. So, and we set a, we actually set a flag for us. So we want to be um, a bridge between the China and the US. So we now we have a team of 10 people, and like 80% of us, like 8 people, we have the international background, and um, then 3 of us. I'm now currently based in Shenzhen, and 3 of us they are actually in some other country, 2 in US and 1 in UK. So actually, you see the now we're coming into 2022, but in the first uh, 12 years of crypto, actually China they have accumulated a lot of the culture, like many of the founders of exchanges are from China, like CZ is Chinese, and like many of the like Huobi, OKX, and like many of the second tier exchanges, they are mostly Chinese. Chinese are good at doing products and miners. And before the policy in China uh, earlier last year, uh, most of the mining powers are and mining pools are in China, and there are a lot of the great developers in China from the a lot of large tech companies like Alibaba, like ByteDance, and like Tencent. So, but we still see a huge gap between the Chinese and West, and mostly because of the culture difference or the language difference. And you can see a lot, especially after the Chinese regulation, a lot of the traditional media they're being regulated, and they cannot directly report about blockchain technology. So we and every day when I'm having call with those Western founders, and they told me, "Hey, Alan, I really want to get to know more about the China market. So could you help me to connect with the dots?" And so we see there's a huge bridge, and it will continue to exist. I think maybe for 3 or 5 years. So we're planning to move into Singapore um, maybe after 3 or 4 months. I'm having my visa now, and then actually today we just published a video on YouTube. It's in English. It's kind of like what we are having today. So it's founders with founders, and we plan to do one one episode in Chinese and one episode in English, so we can invite both the Chinese founders and also the founders from all over the world to be the guests. And also you see all the if you find our website, you can see all the reviews, all the like content we created are all in Chinese and English. And now you see, because of the regulation in China, now a lot of the influencers in China they started to log on Twitter, and you see a lot of the Chinese on Twitter, and we want to really to bridge those two cultures together. So that is our flag. I think maybe in the next year, at this point, we could be one of the toppest VCs from Asia that have the largest content production to the whole English world. So that's kind of flat. Let's see, like maybe next year at this time.
That'll be exciting. And maybe you come back on the show and we'll do another episode to see how much progress you made.
Yeah, maybe you can be one of our guests too.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love that. I'd love that. You know, because so I'm in America, and I actually think what you're talking about and doing is like really important, because I feel like right now there is absolutely a ton of friction, just in people's minds between, just even on a country level, on a cultural level, and I almost think that like crypto and Web3 can be a way to like put aside our differences and to come together and just build really cool stuff that helps people. Um, how difficult is it to how difficult is it to actually do business in the way that you want, and to be that bridge when there is so much tension, um, between there, let's call a spade. Like there's a tension between the countries, and a lot of tension there. So how do you actually, in your opinion, like what's the way to solve that? How do you really bridge that gap, in a sense? And I'm not at all asking you to get political at all, but just more from like how do we more come together? How do we come together as people, as humans, to really build cool stuff, and really leave the friction behind?
Yeah, I think that's actually a very interesting topic, and um, I think like I said, everyone coming to crypto actually for several reasons, and one of the reasons that I'm coming to crypto because um, in this world, I think people like you see, people are not judged by many external things. Like when we're talking about metaverse, so like today I'm logging into crypto voxels to watch the demo day of long hash, and in crypto voxels everyone is just a character, and you and all I can see is that your virtual character in the metaverse. So what kind of, like, maybe you're wearing a very handsome hat, maybe you're having a really good pair of shoes, and and you're sharing some really cool stuff, and I want to make friends with you. So I think what makes this industry and Web3 really interesting, because we're building a decentralized world. So in the past, like maybe because we're born from different culture, we need to have a certain period of time or culture common to build up the trust between each other. But in Web3, I think the whole world is being is actually very flat. So like you see, like if we put different organizations at different mountains, you see the different mountains here, different mountains here, and even between enterprises, like I think Google and Facebook, they won't share the data together because they are actually two big mountains. They although they're in the same country, they share a different culture. So they actually still have frictions between them. But in Web3, actually the boundaries between those I would say physical organizations is becoming very flat. So so here we actually we call this DAO. So in many organizations today, when you are talking to crypto people, you're actually the first introduction. I'm from kind of what DAO. Like maybe you can see my my profile photo is actually one NFT. My WeChat profile photo is actually one NFT because like I hold maybe some of my NFT. That's my interest, and maybe you hold a similar NFT. Then it's very easy for us to have very similar culture and belief. So I think that's what brings us together. And yeah, actually, in my real life experience, because we're making a lot of connections with founders from outside China. The majority, I think that 70% of our portfolio companies are from outside China. And we're also having daily conversations with a lot of the international VCs from US, from Southeast Asia, from Europe, and actually, from my standpoint or from what I've observed, there's actually very little friction. People care about which time zone you're in because that really matters to having a Zoom call. But what people really cares about like is not the physical existence of you. It's like how you are mentally connected with me, or how if we have synergies in our mind, if we both have belief in Web3, if we are both holding the same tokens. So I think the best way to solve this problems is that DAO. I think DAO is a very good vehicle, and Metaverse is also another good vehicle to solve that problem. So I won't see that as a real problem in Web3.
I love it. I love it. And that is my deep wish as well, is that, Web3 kind of cuts away a lot of the, the issues that we've seen, and allows us to really come together and again, build cool stuff that helps people. So, that's really exciting. I know we're coming up close to time here. So just have one more question for you, but if you could maybe give us, just an idea of your view on the metaverse and the future of crypto gaming. I know you come a lot from the DeFi world. You're very sophisticated there. And so I'm really interested, given your background and everything you're doing, what do you see as the future of the metaverse? And maybe you can take us through kind of the timeline of how we get to that future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So starting from myself, I'm actually I would say a futurist. So I play a lot of video games, and so some of the very exciting video games I played, like Cyberpunk 2077 and like Detroit Become Human, and like I'm recently Alex with my VR headset. So so the very first time I put on my Valve Index, the VR headset, I feel like we're really coming to the metaverse time. So I'm actually I think the history of metaverse in crypto actually began with the CryptoKitties in 2018, and then in 2020, like actually like Decentraland, I joined their ICO in 2017, and they've been developing really fast. And then Sandbox finished their fundraising, I think in 2019 in the bear market, and then in 2020 because of the NBA Top Shot, and people can see that those virtual identity, virtual I would say scenarios, and those virtual assets really mean something to me. Um, and then after, I think in October last year, 2020, when Facebook changed his name from Facebook to Meta, and then this whole world just boomed with metaverse and other people coming in. So I would say, so my vision towards metaverse actually uh, originated from a book. It's called A Brief History of Tomorrow. I think you definitely have read about this book. It's very famous. So it made a prediction, maybe after 15 years, 50 years, maybe in 2070, maybe like say, let's say in 2077. At that time, AI is already very mature. So actually, a lot of the human labor works is already taking place by AI. So at that time, maybe only 10% of the human beings are like us, getting to work, getting to office every day, and creating value to the whole society. But the other 90% of people, they're becoming like the kind of the not negative, but the useless crowd. But here the useless is not negative. Here I mean they do not create neighbor value, but they create some other like spirit value to the world. So how do they spend their time? And in that book, they made a prediction that they spend most of the time their in the metaverse and in the gaming. So actually, that become my origin idea about where we will be at maybe after 50 years, and coming into where we are now. I think have come to a break-even point that blockchain infrastructure has been already developed, and the VR hardware devices has already been developed. And speaking about metaverse, I think three of the most important features metaverse have. First, it's about the immerse. So metaverse is actually to maximize our feelings, our different feelings, maybe from the organic, the eyes, the nose, or like the hearings. And so the first thing, it has to be immersed. So in order to reach that, we need to have developed hardwares like those AR devices. We need to have um, the enough content to provide an immersed ecosystem. Like I think crypto vocals and sandbox, we cannot use the even we could not use the VR device, we can actually build a lot of things that we can build in our real life. And immersion is one very important features. And the second thing about the metaverse is interactive. So, or we call it interoperability. So in the physical world, like you're in US and I'm in China, I can only call it through the room, but we cannot make any other interactions. But in the metaverse, all the people you can make transactions, you can make like body interactive in the metaverse, and you can exchange not only information, your data, your assets, your everything in metaverse. And with a headset, everything feels like extremely real. And the third point is about, I think, last but not least, is what really cryptocurrency brings the metaverse into reality is that token economy, because we're building everything on math. So we're not building everything by a monopoly. We're not building by a company. So, and this whole world is not maintained by a company. So we need to have incentive for all the people, all the creators to create assets, create content. So there's the importance of token economy. So I think that's the three most important features of metaverse. And in the future, I would think I would raise an example of one of the portfolio companies called Really, and we co-invested with Alameda, Three Arrows, and Multicoin. So they're building a city DAO. So like today, we're doing, because of COVID, we cannot maybe we cannot listen to the concert. We cannot we cannot go to some museum we wanna visit. We cannot travel through different countries to visit the people we want to meet. So really is building a city, but in that city, you can actually wear the fashion designs that you have in the real life, um, and you can listen to the concert. They're working with a lot of the influencers, very big ones. I cannot review the name now, and to have one of the first concerts in Ready, and you can walk on the street, do everything you do in actually GT5, GTA, And also we're having our annual meeting. Actually, it's in Friday. We're having our annual meeting not on offline, but in the gather. So it's kind of like the metaverse. So I think a lot of people, they are having their demo day, they're having their meetings, or maybe like consensus. I think last year is in metaverse. So I think the timeline for metaverse is that next year, where I say 2022 and 2023, a lot of the real life activities will be taking place in the metaverse, and maybe in 2023 to 2024, with the wide adoption of VR devices, and more people can really get deep into the metaverse, like we use mobile phone. Now everyone has a mobile phone, and in the future, I think maybe more people, they don't have a physical job. They have their full-time job in the metaverse, like many people do in Axie Infinity. And until this number reaches maybe 50% or maybe even larger in the next few years, or like maybe 10 and 20 years later. But that's only the imagination or prediction I'm making today. But I think I'm a futurist, so I really I really dream about tomorrow every day. So
Me too. And I love your vision of the future, and I think it's very accurate. I totally agree with yeah, with everything you're saying. As far as like everything's going to be done in the metaverse because it's just going to be easier. It's going to be more convenient. Like not even from a oh, it's just a superior way to do things that makes it easier and reduces friction. And we've seen time and time again in history that which reduces friction the most oftentimes becomes the dominant technology and the dominant way that we do things. So I think you're spot on with it. But yeah, Alan, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. I know we went a little bit over time, so I want to thank you for sharing so much of your time. I know you're a busy man, so thank you very much.
thank you, Ben, for having this time.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, have a good day.
Yeah, you too. And everybody watching and listening, I want to thank you so much for joining us here, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care now.